Hello, I'm Jesper McIlroy, and in this presentation, I'll lay out my strategy for teaching Year 4 students the concept of magnetic force. After fully engaging in the unit's resources, I knew for creating a lesson plan that there were some essential questions that needed to be asked. And that is, what key concepts do I want the student to learn? What will support the success of that objective? And how will I know that they've met that objective? The Queensland Curriculum and Assessment Authority, Queensland Government, the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, and Education New South Wales laid the foundation for these questions. Knowing that I wanted to teach a lesson about how to understand magnetic force, I consulted the Australian syllabus and I selected the content descriptors in Science Year 4 that best aligned with understanding magnetic forces. By focusing on these APSTs, I will be ensuring students are given a clear, supportive pathway into new learning. And it will remind me of the importance to collect meaningful evidence in order to give meaningful feedback. The Australian Curriculum Authority Achievement Standards are an essential benchmark for lesson plans. My learning intentions and success criteria are perfectly aligned and written so that students clearly understand expectations. ACARA also highlights the importance of cross-curricular priorities and general capabilities, and they will be encountered in my lesson in the following ways. For sustainability, we will look at the role that magnets play in recycling. In literacy, we will look at scientific vocabulary, and in critical and creative thinking, we'll look at a lot of problem solving in terms of how we work out how magnets work. And then for numeracy, we'll be doing measurements. We'll measure the distance between magnets and the object. And then personal capability, we'll have a lot of group work, collaboration, role sharing, etc. And for ICT, we'll be using iPads and Google Forms for assessments and engagement. There are two students with diverse learning needs in our class, one with ADHD and the other with autism. Both of these students have strengths and needs that will be addressed with evidence-based strategies for success. CAS 2024 has demonstrated how they will benefit from a universal design for learning teaching framework. In the dark blue boxes, I've highlighted with bullet points some of the differentiating strategies that I'll be using in my lesson plan. Magnetism is an abstract idea and will require a carefully sequenced structure to build meaning gradually. This lends itself perfectly to explicit teaching, specifically gradual release of responsibility model, the I do, we do, you do strategy. Hattie 2009 perfectly lays out this research-based strategy for us to follow in the lesson. It's worth noting that Hattie makes reference to how important clarifying exactly what the learning intentions are, being transparent with the students, and highlighting the necessity to provide evidence that students understand how magnets work. This will inform assessment strategies that focus on explanation. It will also highlight the importance of purposeful tracking, not just engaging in the activity. Universal design for learning will enhance the structure of explicit teaching because it will allow teachers to incorporate the needs of each student. In other words, it will make sure that every student has the opportunity to succeed. All right, let's begin by looking at how explicit teaching is used in the lesson plan, specifically the gradual release of responsibility strategy. So the main goal of the introduction is to create belief by activating prior learning and setting the framework. In the I do stage, I chose to implement the strategy of thinking out loud, which allows the students to see expert thinking, evidence produced by Rosenshine 2012. With the GRR model, the we do stage is very important. It's the student's first step in reaching the success criteria. Teacher will step back and only supporting when needed. Teaching will involve observation and specific targeted prompts to coach the students through. So in the conclusion, this stage really needs to be the time where the students demonstrate their understanding. And this is where you'll have a quiz and the class will have discussions. The teacher will prompt questions. If the explicit teaching model is the body of the lesson, UDL is the soul of the learning. There are great resources for UDL strategy, but I've found CAST 2024 to be the most useful. for developing a lesson plan, and I will make reference to it now as I walk you through the lesson plan again. The hook and open-ended questions were meant as a UDL strategy for engagement. In the I do stage of the body, I've demonstrated how magnets work in various different ways. Also, at this stage, I'm clearly identifying what is going to be on the success criteria. By allowing the students to choose the activity they want to do, you're giving them the opportunity to enhance their learning. Group work with roles develops the ability to collaborate. Reporting on tablets guide information processing. Structured station roles build planning and strategy skills. Just having the teacher stating big ideas will activate background knowledge. Students are enabled by having multiple tools to choose from. And finally, students check against success criteria and develop self-assessment. For assessment to be effective, it must have certain qualities. One of the qualities states that the assessment must be explicit about what they're required to do, and that there should be clear and explicit assessment criteria. Similarly, Gibbons 2009 shows evidence of effective teaching by relying on transparent goals and targeting intentional assessment. With APST 5.1, Assess Student Learning, I've decided to look at how my lesson plan can incorporate all forms of assessment. In the introduction, when the teacher will ask, "What happened when?" This is an example of diagnostic assessment and is essential for framing up the lesson for success. And it's also engaging. Then in the model stage, teacher prompts the student to think, what would happen when? Teacher can then assess what they predict, which is an indication of what they know. And this is formative assessment. Then in the we do stage, the students are being assessed in a more systematic way, but with the teacher's directed support. This is structured formative assessment. Finally, we have an example of summative assessment where the teacher is looking for unsupported assessment that will indicate understanding of success criteria, the exit ticket, and the discussion. There are a lot of opportunities for the ADHD and ASD student. In the introduction, you can enable the ADHD student to understand tasks by having them repeat instructions. With the ASD student, you can enable order by establishing a set schedule with timetables and a visible clock. Make sure they know of a great quiet space in case they get overwhelmed. There's an extension opportunity in the model stage. You can have a student measure distance from magnet to object. During the we do stage, the ASD student will benefit from a laminated step-by-step visual to create a sense of order. Also, a concrete manipulative will be helpful because abstract may be overwhelming. The ADHD student will benefit from extra time at station of interest, as it will sustain attention. And for the conclusion, enable success by scaffolding part of the answer to eliminate task paralysis. An extension opportunity for the ASD student would be exploring a novel idea they might have sparked by the task.